Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Danny with Adam's Campsite. So today I want to go ahead and continue my journey pertaining to the 7 years that have passed and where I'm at now. As you know, I've been through so much that I didn't realize until I reflected about my past. Sometimes we're blinded. We don't know what we're going through until we look up and we realize that we've actually climbed the ladder of progression. I myself had no idea how much I've gone up in my life until I reflected and looked down, and I was like, wow. Sometimes you're going through things that you don't even realize that are harder than you think. Some people may have never gone through something like that, or say like, oh, I could never do that. But here we are going through these things and not realizing that we're actually pretty strong. Personal strength is pretty up there, but we don't think about that. I mean, we go through so many things in our life. A lot of things happened in the military that I had to get back up and I had to keep moving forward. I always like to call these resiliency moments a rock. I mean, we all go through, as human beings in life, go through traumatic experiences. A car accident, a loss of life, a family member passes away, we lose jobs, we get fired, we get relocated somewhere else, or all these things. They're traumatic events. And then we have to get back up, right? And we need to move forward. But how do we do that, right? And that's the question that everyone wants to know. How do we get up from such a traumatic event? So first, I want to go ahead and talk about the resiliency aspects of it, right? Yes, we have to put that rock in our back. And sometimes we got to compartmentalize it. And we need to put it away for another time, for another day to have conversations about it. But sometimes we never get to that conversation to take that rock out and talk about it. In the military, I always had so many rocks that I would put in my back, or whether I lost something that was valuable to me, or I lost my identity. Sometimes that happens. So for me, when I moved on from the military, I lost my identity. As a senior non-commissioned officer, I moved from one environment to another. The loss of my identity. And that could be a huge part in an individual's struggle, where they don't know what's the next thing in their life, their purpose in life. For me, I served in the military. For 23 years, it was ingrained in me. What now, right? And then we start remembering all these times that, man, I wish I was back in the military. But why do I want to go back to the military? You know, we hear our friends talking about this all the time. Like, and I miss those days when I was deployed out with my brothers and sisters. I miss those good old days. I wish I was back there. Do you really wish you were back there? Is there something else that's back there? And that's what I talk about. Sometimes we need to reflect and go back, not just to stay back there, but just to reflect. What am I looking for? What am I searching for? And sometimes you got to go into your past. So Joseph Campbell had this great quote, and it went, "The cave you fear to enter holds the treasures you seek." For me, when I think of that quote, I think about, I need to go back and reflect on some things that happened in order to find out what those things mean. Let's go back to the example of wanting to go back to those days when I was deployed. I'm going to go back there and find out, why do I want this? So for me, I figured it out. It wasn't that I wanted to be in combat. There's that adrenaline rush, yes. But it was actually the people we're going through it with. It was our brothers, our sisters. Those moments in time where we're able to hang out with each other, have conversations, joke around with each other, pick on each other, laugh, joke, just enjoy, celebrate our victories. When you have a community, a group, a team of individuals that go through something with you in the same path, that connection and bond begins to happen. And that is why we sometimes want to go back there where all those things were happening. So how do we move forward and get those things back? Well, like I said, I left the military and I jumped into the civilian world, and I was just lost. I was just trying to find my way through. I I had no idea where I was going. So when I was moving towards retirement, I was looking for the next thing. Even before I had left the military, I had turned in all my terminal leave, all my leave that I had accumulated, and it was almost like about 2 months of it. I went on leave and I found a job as a customer service representative. And while I could have had those 2 months of just relaxing, seeing family for the time that I hadn't been at home and been gone for such a while, I actually started working while I was on leave. I was just that nervous in reference to what was I going to do next. Man, I was just nervous about getting out from the military and not finding a job in order to support my family. So I didn't even take time to take a deep breath before I moved forward. So I found a job as a customer service representative because all I knew was the military and how to serve, how to shoot, move, communicate, coach, train, mentor. All these things I had learned. Skill sets, values that had been instilled in me. Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. All these things that had been instilled in me. However, moving out of the military, I was trying to figure out what am I good at? What is my next step? I'm not sure what it is. So what happens next is I found a job as a customer service representative, and I was there for six months, learning how to speak to customers on the phones and helping them. This is Daniel. How may I help you? Some of us who pulled CQ and staff duty and all these things, we all know we used to pick it up. We were actually being trained on how to do customer service representative. Hey, good afternoon. My name is Daniel. How may I help you, sir, ma'am? That was just those things that we have no idea that we were getting training on. So when I transitioned or I progressed into the next stage of my life, that's when I realized wow, hey, I used to do this all the time. So that's what I did. Learn some new skill sets in reference to having conversations with others, not just service members, but, civilians, and, the lingo and the language is definitely different. So therefore it's kind of retraining yourself from one environment to another. So that's what helped. That's why I really am grateful. And that's kind of what I did with my career. I actually worked myself from the bottom to the top as a, customer service representative, manufacturing supervisor, project manager, and then mental wellness facilitator. So to me, that was kind of like a progressive state. And not just that, got to get some skill sets. And I really did enjoy it because we did have other fellow veterans that were part of that company that I got to hang out and talk to and just get myself wrapped around. And it was kind of like we were all in the same journey trying to figure out the next steps from going from the military environment to the civilian environment. So surrounding myself with good people, and sometimes battle buddies, as we call them, individuals that actually could walk with you in your path because they're in the same path as you are. Having those individuals around you is a great thing. And and I highly recommend, if you ever are looking for something to do, you find yourself someone that's going through the same path as you, and then y'all just help each other out. Another thing that I actually did, started looking into mentorship programs, and I was given a mentor, and he was a military veteran himself. He helped me with my resume, had conversations about how to take on some challenges and obstacles pertaining to my service in reference to how to have conversation with others utilizing the civilian lingo rather than the military lingo. So that's what happened. I ended up doing all those things in order to train myself and try to figure things out in a way that I could jump into the civilian sector. So that was a big part of my process as I moved forward, progress from one state to another. Meaning we are not the same individuals we were when we moved from one state to another. When I moved from the military to the civilian sector, I progressed because I had so many skills and so many things that were ingrained in me that I wasn't the same person when I first joined the military. And now I'm moving on to another phase in my life. going through my life, I just never knew that that was something that I had done. I always called it transition, but when I kind of shift it to progression, it makes me feel that, you know what, you'll be in a good place. So it's how you look at things in life is gonna determine how you feel and how you respond or react. So that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for this conversation. I really do appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe, like this content, and as always, I catch you on the flip side.